Lian was a young lantern maker who lived in a quiet village surrounded by tall, dense trees and vast, dark forests. Though her workshop was small and her tools were old, she had a burning desire to create something extraordinary, something that would shine brightly and guide people through their darkest moments. However, despite her dream, her lanterns were simple, uninspired. No matter how hard she tried, they never seemed to glow as brilliantly as she envisioned. The villagers would pass by her workshop, casting only a quick glance at the dull, flickering lanterns. They would shake their heads and whisper, "She will never be able to make anything truly special." This constant criticism and the lack of success began to weigh on Lian. Every day, she would look at the lanterns she had made, each one carrying the hope that this would be the one to shine brightly. But time after time, her efforts seemed to fall short. She would hear the whispers of the villagers saying things like, "Why doesn't she give up? Her lanterns are just like everyone else's." It hurt, but what hurt the most was the seed of doubt that started growing inside her. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was not meant to make anything great. Maybe she would always be the girl who could only create mediocre lanterns. But Lian didn't give up, not completely. One evening, when she was sitting alone in her workshop, she remembered a story her grandmother once told her. The story of an ancient lantern maker who, through years of trial and failure, had created a lantern that could illuminate even the darkest night. The lantern was said to shine with a light that could heal and guide lost souls. Lian felt a spark of hope ignite inside her. Perhaps, she thought, if the ancient maker could do it, then so could she. But she knew that she was far from ready. The next day, she visited the elder lantern maker, the most respected craftsman in the village. He had seen many lantern makers come and go, and he wasn't one to offer encouragement easily. When Lian approached him, her heart pounded in her chest. She asked him if he would teach her the secret to making a lantern that could glow brightly. The elder looked at her with a skeptical eye and said, "Young one, you are far too inexperienced. It takes years of dedication to make something like that. You cannot rush greatness." His words stung, but Lian did not give up. She asked him if he would at least guide her in improving her skills, and after a long silence, he gave her a simple piece of advice: "The light you seek must first come from within you. Without the courage to fail, you will never create anything worthy of the light you desire." Lian left the elder's shop with more questions than answers. What did he mean? How could she find the courage to fail when she already felt like a failure? That night, she went home and stared at the half-finished lantern on her workbench. Days turned into weeks, and Lian's frustration reached new heights. Her workshop was cluttered with unfinished lanterns, each one a reminder of her failures. Yet, she could not give up. There was a deep yearning inside her to prove not just to the villagers but to herself that she was capable of creating something extraordinary. One evening, as Lian sat alone in the fading light of her workshop, her thoughts drifted back to the elder's words: "The light you seek must first come from within you." She had spent so much time focusing on the lantern itself, on the materials, the design, and the technique, that she had almost forgotten what the lantern symbolized: the light inside of her. It was then that a sudden clarity washed over her. Lian realized that her journey wasn't just about making a lantern. It was about understanding her own potential, about tapping into the strength she had always kept hidden. She knew she had to let go of the fear of failure and embrace her imperfections. It was this realization that would be the turning point in her journey. She had been trying to create a perfect lantern, but perfection didn't exist. What mattered was the intention behind it, the energy she put into it, and the belief that it could bring light to the world. The next morning, Lian woke up with a newfound sense of purpose. She returned to her workbench with fresh eyes and a renewed heart. This time, She didn't just focus on the physical aspects of the lantern. She allowed herself to experiment, to make mistakes, and to fail without guilt. She mixed materials she had never dared to before, combining silk with glass, and tried new designs that felt risky and unconventional. There were moments when things went wrong, lanterns broke, flames flickered out, and materials didn't hold. But each failure felt less like defeat and more like a lesson. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lian finally completed a lantern that felt different. It wasn't perfect in the traditional sense, its edges were a little uneven, and the light it emitted wasn't completely steady, but there was something magical about it. The glow was warm and inviting, soft yet strong, like a beacon in the night. Lian held it up to the sky, and for the first time in weeks, she felt peace. She understood that the lantern was a reflection of her own journey, imperfect, yet beautiful in its own right. The villagers, who had once mocked her, now watched in awe as the lantern glowed brighter than any they had ever seen. Word quickly spread that Lian had finally created the legendary lantern she had been striving for. People from neighboring villages came to see the light that had inspired so much curiosity and wonder. The elder lantern maker, who had once doubted her, stood silently in the crowd, his eyes filled with pride. He nodded, as if acknowledging the lesson Lian had learned, that true greatness comes not from perfection but from the courage to embrace one's flaws and to keep going, even when the path seems impossible. Lian's lantern became a symbol of hope for everyone who saw it.